working? We don't have anybody else in here. We're going to be irritated if we can't get to it again. Hey, how are you?
Well, I was able to invite you. I think what it is they don't have Google Plus accounts. And while I tried to stress that
Masha does.
but she never sent me her Google ID.
She actually, I mean, I have hers.
Do you? Can you invite her to the Hangout?
Plus. I did that last time and it didn't work, so. Where do I do this?
In the Hangout, you'll click Invite at the top.
Invite. Maybe I can't do that.
At the top?
Invite.
You don't have invite.
What if we send it out to YouTube and we can at least send them there and then we can email you?
That's what I'm doing.
Why do I not have it? Because I didn't send it out, maybe?
Probably. So, do you know what Masha's Google account is? Is it Maria or Masha?
Masha.
Because there are like a million Masha Kuchnovas on here. Okay, seriously, stop it.
Almost. With the entire.
We also don't.
I'm recording though, right? This isn't on air.
If you're on air.
Okay. So at least I'm recording. I started, right?
Right.
Oh, how are you? Okay.
I'll give you this for Sunday.
Okay, I'm gonna start this then, and you can deal with that.
Okay.
All right. So we had a lot of good suggestions, and I went back and looked at what this was supposed to be. And it was supposed to be collaboration. So I decided since it's collaboration, we would pick some tools that were collaborative. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of try to we're going to try to go through Google Docs. Now, I know hopefully most of you have some familiarity with Google Docs because we talked about it at boot camp, so you have a basic idea that we talked about. You saw, for example, the writing feedback group, how they use Google Docs to get feedback on writing and things like that. So hopefully I have a kind of basic idea of how that works. What I'm hoping to do, if anybody has any questions on that, let me know. So we can talk about that a little bit. But I can really quick, I'm going to just show you a couple of documents. I'll just show you, we'll start with real scratch, basic Word document. All I'm going to show you is basically that you can have it, you can show what? You can have a document. All of these are, the cool things about these, the advantages of Google Apps generally, is that they're all web-based, so you can access them from anywhere. They're all shareable, so you can share them with all kinds of collaborators so that you can work on one thing together from multiple places. And the other thing is they're free. So these are all really great things for teaching, in my opinion. So the way you would share something, so we have a document, we'll not go into that too much, but you basically just go and you say share, and then you would just invite people from their address, their email addresses. That's it. And then they get an email that says, hey, Christy, this one will say, because Christy Boggs has asked you to join her to share this document, please go here to do that.
Does everybody have to have a Google account?
They will ask, when you do that, they will ask you to create a Google account. Usually I suggest to actually use your UW email address if you don't have one, because that's really easy. So then your Google account is, cbogs@uwi.edu, and then somebody emails you and invites you again, then you always get it to the right account.
That's smart, yeah.
If you make it something else, then I have like 3 Google accounts, and it's causing me no end of grief. Like I have people sending emails to this one, I have to get this one, and it's like, oh. So I would, if you haven't got one, I would say go with your UW email address as your Google account. That will really help you. If you already have one, oh well. You probably already are aware of the problems it causes. So that would be how you do it. Right here it says who has access. So this is the same, basically it's the same setup for all of the Google apps. All the things that we talk about, this will be the same kind of sharing setup. So we don't have to cover this multiple times. I can go in here and I can say, right now it says only the people that I invite can access this. Okay? So if you have a class and you don't want them, you don't want to mess with everybody creating Google accounts, you don't want to mess with them all managing all the Google accounts, you don't have to do it that way. However, if you want to be able to know who they are so that you can grade stuff by how many people contributed to what, you need to have them get Google accounts. Just FYI. Otherwise you won't be able to tell. It's an anonymous user number 6,253. Something like that. That is not helpful to me. It will be based upon when they come in. So here are your options for sharing settings. You can make it public on the web. So this is something that you can do if you want people to be able to search it. When it's public on the web, they can find it. They don't need to sign in. They can find it and they can search for it. So whatever top information you have in there will be searchable. This might be something you'll do eventually with it. Maybe you might want to do this eventually if you create something that you want to share. The other one is include a link. Now this is a great option if you want people to be able to change it, but you don't want to have to. Power back. But you don't want to have them all have Google accounts. So this is something if you want to just put some anonymous information or something, they just want to sign up for something, put their name in, that is great. But this won't tell you who changed what. It will say anonymous user number 652, whatever. That's what it's going to do. So just so that you know. And then private is the default, which means that only the people you invite and have Google accounts can actually get into it and change it. Okay. So that's one set of sharing things. There's one other option for sharing, and that is actually to publish it to the web. Okay, so that's your other option. I can publish this to the web, and when I do the publishing to the web, it will give me some options. Let's say this for now. It will give me a link to the document, so I can send this email to somebody and say, here, just look at my page. I'll give you an example of how that might be used. In one of the classes that I was, I was helping somebody with Google Docs, it was an on-campus class, they had an assignment where they created a news release, a press release on a topic. And the idea was to it was a science class, the idea was to take this topic and distill it down so that it could be a press release, so that people that were not in science would actually understand what was going on with that, right? So what they did is they kept it as a private document while the students were working on it. So they worked on it, they edited it, and they figured it all out, massaged it, and made it all work. And then when they were finished, they published it to the web. And so it was basically almost a web page at that point. And then what they did is they invited several people from around campus that were not in the science to evaluate it and see if they could understand it. And it made sense. So that's an example of how you might want to do something like that. So you can make it into a web page, you can go through and have a link to it, or you can actually embed it. So that means you can take it so that it will actually appear inside of a web page. So those are the options there. I'm going to stop publishing. So another cool thing about this is that if you change stuff, if you're going along and you're changing it, if you're working on something and you're changing it a lot, if you embed this in a web page, instead of having to change the web page all the time, you just go on and you change the document and the web page automatically changes for you. That's what we did with the boot camp schedule. This boot camp schedule was all an embedded web page or embedded Google Docs so that we could all work on it and change it and just keep being dynamic for us. So that's some pretty quick and dirty how to do the sharing. Like I said, the sharing is probably one of the most important things for Google Docs. They want to be more useful things. Let me just really quickly see what we can see. I'm not sure. These problems there isn't any comments. So in the Google Doc, if I wanted to comment on something, so if I was trying to talk with a group, I could just right-click on it and say comment, and then you get a thing that looks very much like a Microsoft Office commenting thing, right? So I can comment on this, and it would pop up with all the little comments on it. Also, when there's different people, and they find a document actually that several people have worked on. Just back. Okay. Okay. So this is a document that everybody in Outreach contributed to at some point or other. So, you go in here and see revision history. Oh, this is the one that everybody, well, enough people didn't get the idea. You go through the revision history, you can see on the right here, I'll do this with the mouse, people online, if there's people online, at least it's recording this time, so we're doing well. People on the right over here are the edits that were made by these different people. And so, you know, this is why I was saying if you don't have them log in, what you get over here is instead of saying Bob Zarosa, now granted that's maybe not totally clear who that is, but there's a pretty good guess of who that is. You can ask them for their usernames. It'll say anonymous user or something. And they won't even know who that is. You won't be able to ask them what is you just need a username. But what I can do is I go and I can say, I want to see what Kennedy, or Athena Kennedy did here. So I want to click on this one. So this is the revision there. If I scroll down, what I'm going to see is where she made a change. We hope. Or not. She apparently didn't change, she just looked at it. So this was the more revised version. Okay, there's an example. So you see she's reddish pink here, and you can see that these are the changes she made. Okay? So you can see, so you'll be able to see exactly what they did on each revision. It'll show you how many revisions they did, and it'll show you what they did. So that this is really helpful for grading purposes. This is all these things I'm totally showing you right now will happen on all of the different apps. So you can do this on any app. You can also go through and add, you know, comments and things, but this gives you an idea. If somebody goes in and for some mysterious reason trashes the entire thing and they're like, oh no, it's gone forever, it's not. All you do is go to the revisions and you say Larry went in and trashed the thing right here, and that revision was all messed up. We could go back to Jeff's and we could say restore this revision, and we'd go back to that page. So you would never lose anything. Everybody, does that make sense to everybody? So that's kind of the basic things behind Google Apps. That's, you know, like I said, I showed you the list of documents, but there's some other really cool things you can do. So that, you know, those are the basic things. It's sharing. It's free. One thing is that, you know, if you struggle with students, if you're teaching and they upload documents that you can't read because there's some kind of crazy format. It doesn't happen near as often as it used to, but it used to happen a lot. But you know, you'll upload something that's like, you don't know what it is, some kind of ODS file, and you're like, what is that? If you have them work in Google Docs, then you can always read it. So that's another thought if you have trouble with that kind of thing.
So you can just have students hand papers in through Google Docs?
You could, yes. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that you do, unless you're having them work in there, because it's just another step for them. It's just, you know, if they're just handing in documents. But if you have a lot of trouble with it,
I'd like to sometimes see what revisions they've made, and it might be
Yes.
easier for them to do this
Yes.
instead of me having to compare. It'd
Yes.
be nice to say, oh, they really did the thing.
Right,
That
exactly.
changed, or-
Exactly. That is a good, I mean, if there's a assignment that has a revision process, that's a great idea. And you might just say, okay, here, you're going to create this document here, you're going to do all your work on this document here, and that way we can both kind of see, I can make notes, I can make comments, you can do revisions, I can see what you changed, this is why we're doing this. So that's a good example of that. So another thing you can do is, if I can find it. We'll do my raking sign up first. So another thing you can do is you can do spreadsheets the same way. So if you're teaching a class that has a lot of spreadsheet stuff, you can do spreadsheets the exact same way. Sharing is the same. The collaboration stuff is the same. You can turn it into a web page. It's all the same. You can also create schedules. So I told you about the boot camp schedule. So this is the boot camp schedule that I was able to share. If we go up to the sharing here, what we're going to see is that all of these people have access to it to make changes to it if they need to. That was an awful lot. So that we could all work on it collaboratively. And then what we did is we were actually able to, I'll show you what this looks like online. So this is the exact same schedule, but it's embedded. So you can see this is basically within this other page, but it's embedded. So the cool thing about that is when I go to this and change this, right? So this is the working document. This is automatically updated. So that's really handy. And it's just an easy embed code. You don't really have to know HTML, you just have to stick it in. It's really simple.
It really is easy to embed that.
Yes. Just, all you do is you go up to this and you say, actually, yeah, publish to web, and it says, here's your embed code.
Oh.
Well, actually, you need to say HTML embed code, and then there's your embed code. So just take that and you just stick that in. If you're in an LMS, in e-college, for example, you just go into the HTML button, and you can paste that in there, and it'll just pop up, and it'll show up there. So that's how that works. It's really simple. So that's one way you can use the spreadsheet. Aside from just using it as a spreadsheet, it doesn't have all the features that Excel has, but it has a lot. You can do a lot with a spreadsheet. And a lot of the same formulas work. Some of them are slightly different, but most of them will work. Most of the basic ones will work. If you get really complicated, they'll be a little different. You can do a search online though and find them, all those things. The other thing you can do with spreadsheets, this is for you, Samara, is you can create forms. You can create forms and surveys really easily. So this, what you see right here, is the result of a survey. The surveys come in like this, and these are the different fields. So this is the time it came in, and we have these are the fields that I'll create. I'll show you the survey in a minute here. These over here are, you can see the ones that are gray are the ones the form is nothing, and this is stuff that I'm adding to it. So what's really cool about that is that this particular form is for our ski team. We are ranking leagues for people. We're trying to keep track of it because I'm not ranking the leagues for people. My team captains are ranking the leagues for people, but I'm collecting the information. So I have this form. They put it in. This team captains then go and rate the yards and say yes, they're done, and you know how long it took and what date they did it, so that there's no confusion. I don't get a phone call and say, hey, did they rate my long? I can say yes or no, or I can say, well, they haven't got to it yet, or I have some idea, and they have some idea. And so we all can share that. So let me show you really quick the form itself. This is what the live form looks like right here. Okay, so this is also embeddable in a page. So you can embed this in eCollege. You wanted to collect information from your class, or you can embed this in a web page. Your registration when you signed up for boot camp was one of these. Okay, and so this is what it looks like. And then if we go in here, oh no, there's back. Okay, and then if we go up here, we can see this is the edit form. So this is how I create the form. So this is where I go in and actually create forms and add items and so forth and so on. So I can add an item. These are my options. I can do. It's pretty robust. It's not like the UW survey tool, but it's not bad. I can actually have paths. So if they answer this or this, it goes to a different place. I can add that kind of path. I can add. We'll give you guys a sneak peek of the new LMS survey that we're about to send out. You can create. Let's go to the live one. You can create this kind of questions so that it has the, I don't know what to call it, probably scenario. Yeah. You can create these kind of scenarios. You have open-ended. You can have all kinds of options, checkboxes, radio buttons, all kinds of stuff. So anything I choose, so if I can go up here and these are my different items. I can do a text, a paragraph text, multiple choice, checkboxes, choose from a list, a scale, or grid. And then I can do these section headers and page breaks and how I would control when they go things. So what I was saying about with Samara was she was trying to figure out how to make, she wanted to see if we had a license for survey monkey. We don't. But you can use this unless you're doing something really really extreme. This works really well. The other thing about this is that it actually will give you some statistics, not statistics, but it'll give you an overview of what the responses say. So when we look at the conference evaluation for evolution, and we go up here and we say form, and we say show a summary of responses, it does a quick little summary for you, so that you can kind of see. I can see that email was the way that most people heard about this. If you're just trying to get some basic ideas out there, not if you're trying to do some robust stuff, because you don't have any control over this. They just throw it out there. But how satisfied were you? And I can just kind of see, what the responses were on a really basic glance. So that's kind of handy too, to be able to just kind of view that. So it does a lot of pretty cool stuff in a very kind of small, short, easy, free. I mean, this is free, so your students don't have to buy anything, you don't have to work with it. They just say, go here, create a form. It's easy. It's really easy to create a form. So if I wanted to create a new form, I would just go here and say File, New Form, and then this is it. Create a new form. And when I'm done, I have a URL that I just send out and say go. And then I will get a spreadsheet of information, which I then can actually take this and download it as Excel or CSV or plain text or whatever I want to download it as. So I have all kinds of good options here too afterward. I can do all kinds of interesting things with it.
Will it let you go the other way? Will it let people update their responses? Will it
No.
It won't like show them what they said before?
It'll show them what they said. You can make it so that they can see, you can make it so that they can see the spreadsheet. Basically, can't edit it, but they can see it. But I don't think there's any way for them to go back in and edit it unless you give them editing permission to it. So I can do a form where I sent it out and collected information, but then shared the form with anybody that had a link or with specific people, and then they could go and edit it if they wanted to. So you could do that, but you can't. There's not a place where you can go see. Here's what you'd have to be able to log back in to do that, and so you don't log in and take the survey. So
yeah, I'm just thinking about we ask professors all the time for exam dates, and sometimes they change, and I didn't know if this would be a tool to say.
Right.
But initially, they tell us these are the exam dates, and
right.
Oh well, guess what? We changed these things.
Right,
so
right.
Go back into the form and change them.
So you could do that. The other thing you could do is just create a form. You could create a spreadsheet like this to start with, and then you just fill in spreadsheet, just make it so that the setting that I showed you that was anyone with a link would be a great thing for that. You just send them a link and you say, go in and give me the dates for your exams.
Right.
And then they could always go back to that link and change them if they needed to.
So what would they see? Would they see all the lines of the spreadsheet or just their stuff?
They would see whatever was in there. Probably. But if it's just exam dates,
yeah, it's not big.
Not that big of a deal.
And
maybe.
How many people can be in editing in this team?
That's an excellent question. And when this first started, there was instances of people, two of us are working on the same thing and it messes everything up. You can actually, if I don't think anybody's in here at the moment, but if two of us are in here, we can actually see the other person what that person is doing. We can actively see what they're doing. Cody's doing this. Oh yeah, there we go. See, that says one other viewer. Well, that's me. Anyway, I have it open twice. But that's a good example. I'm in here twice, and I probably have not clicked anywhere. So let me go find it wherever I am. Okay, so this will work with two of the same person. Probably not. When they're in here, if this was two different people instead of two of the same person, then you would see right here that this is me. Oh, here we go. Okay, so see this green up here?
Oh.
That's the other person. So I can tell where they're working. In a spreadsheet, you can see what spreadsheet they're in, and you want to avoid that. Because if you both get in the same spreadsheet trying to make changes, it'll crash. Or one of you will win. Right. It will happen. And I don't know how it figures. Probably whoever does it last or something. So you just want to stay on the same cell. You can work on the same sheet all you want. In the documents, in the Word documents, you have to, you can see where they are, and it's actually letter by letter. You can watch them type. And so you can tell exactly where they are. And it's not a problem at all. So we've never, initially there was some issue with that, but there's not anymore. Now they can get in there and you just don't screw each other up. It's really pretty amazing actually, especially for a free tool, I think it's pretty amazing. So did that help explain that?
No, it did, and that might help us a lot. Because we live and die by a spreadsheet. Only one of us can be in it at a time.
Right.
It's a shared Excel sheet, and we might be able to actually, as long as you pay attention to where people are.
See them.
We generally don't work on we're working on different records.
Right. Exactly. So so those are some of the cool app stuff. There's also, so when I went up here and said File New, you'll notice that there's other apps, right? I only talked about documents and spreadsheets and forms, but they actually also have presentations. So if you're trying to do a collaborative presentation, I don't know about you, this happens to me a lot. You're working with somebody on a presentation, and at least I can find a presentation for you. I don't do near any of these on here. We usually do Prezi. We used to. I know we have some. There's one. Okay, so this is the presentation. And actually, so another thing I needed to say is that you can take a Word, you can take an existing Word or an existing Microsoft Office document, spreadsheet, PowerPoint, and upload it to this too, and then edit with it. So you don't have to start from scratch. So this is actually an example of one that we put together. And if you look at the share, you're going to see that we have these are the people that are in this share. Okay? And here's an example of Larry's in here as Larry Jansen, Larry at Gmail, and in here as Jansen at UWYO because he has two. So I was talking about if you have a, if you don't sign up for the first time with your UWYO as your email address, and you end up with multiple Gmail accounts. It's so much fun. So that's an example. But these are all the people that were in here. So I put up a basic scaffold of the presentation, and then you can go through, and there are parts of it. So the university planning was Reed Skoll's part, because that was an administrative thing. Then the online student connectivity, I think, was Larry or Jeff's project, and it's missing things here, but it's been a while since I looked at it. Illuminate was Larry, so that's all about Illuminate. Streaming video was Jeff, and he put all this stuff in there. You can see we had the graphs and stuff. Podcasting was me, so I put all of this stuff in there. Then there was survey, I think these were Jeff's survey. Anyway, we have some survey data that we threw in here. So we all were able to add stuff and change stuff without having to send an email with a PowerPoint, because those are huge and you're annoying, and they send you back and forth. Or somebody sends you, here's what I want to say in PowerPoint, and you have to create the whole PowerPoint, which is a pain in the neck. There's all these things, so you can actually do this in here. A couple of caveats is that it doesn't have, you don't have all of the possibilities that you would do in PowerPoint. It doesn't have like, interesting animations or things like that, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't. You can play these as actual presentations, so you can actually just use this as a presentation at a conference if you have wireless, or if you have internet, which is always tricky, right? But it will just go through these loadings thing. Anyway, it will actually do this too. I don't have to wait for it. So that's another thing you can do with this, and this is another great way of doing this collaboratively. And then another way, one of the other ways, finally the last way for a Google Doc, is actually a drawing. You can also use the Google hang on, this drawing. There we go. I use this in boot camp actually. I developed some fly. You can actually use probably gonna say, move on. So these were the I created these on the fly. These were the Lunchables that we had every lunchtime. So this is a drawing. So this is a collaborative drawing tool. Okay, so I just went and I just created, made a new shape, and I just said, oh, I would like to have this kind of arrow, or and I can create drawings. I can do this collaboratively too. Oh, and I was going to say, so the free Google account will give you 5 gigabytes of space, which is a lot of space. Okay, that's a real solid amount of space. And so you can even upload. You can use it as just an extra hard drive if you have stuff that you want to be able to access from somewhere, kind of like Dropbox or something. But you can upload it into Google Docs and it'll keep it for you. So PDFs or something like that, you can keep it here too. And it's a really big space. So that's kind of a neat thing too. It also allows you, like I said, the sharing is good. I use this a lot actually for documents that I'm working on that aren't even collaborative, because I like being able to access them from anywhere. And there is some discussion about how safe your stuff is online. And the way, this is my personal view, is that Google is way better at backing stuff up than I am. I am not very good at backing stuff up. If it's on my laptop, I think that's a hazardous place to be, because or even my desktop, that's just me and my desktop, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm really good at that. If I have it on Google, they're backing it up like instantaneously. If I lose something on there, I don't even notice because it comes back so fast. And so that's, that would be my. I think the other piece of it is, the security of the data, and my opinion on that as well is that this is Google's business. Okay, their entire business model relies on their ability to back up my stuff and keep it safe. And so once again, that's not my business model. That's not so I'm better. I feel much better about having this stuff on Google because that's what they do than I am. So that's my own opinion. Everybody gets to have their own you on that one, but that's kind of how I feel about it. I was like, I don't know how many laptops I've lost, massive information on, and they crashed and burned at some point. I had a hard drive die just a couple of years ago, and I was like, no. And now, if something's important, I just put it on Google or on Dropbox, and I go, how does this show you?
Christy, do you put any personal student information on?
I actually do. Yes, I actually do. I don't put like really sensitive data, but I do, and I know that that's the unit. I don't even know if it's the university's official policy, but the kind of vague policy is don't do that, or if you do it, you're on your own. And I say I'm on my own. I go for it. I haven't got anything up there.
Part of me thinks it's like one drop of water in the ocean, but
that's kind of what I feel about too. But I don't put stuff up there like social security numbers or things that are. They're names. Like I have their name, and I keep a grade book on there. Is what I do. And the grade book isn't necessarily even useful unless you know what the scale is.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So so they got 300 points.
Well, I think about back to that spreadsheet that I was talking about, Chris. We use first name and last initial.
Yeah.
We don't put W numbers in.
Yeah.
We have first name and last initial. We have course name and title.
Yeah.
So, you could connect the dots maybe.
Yeah.
And unless you drop in the ocean, if somebody did break in, and so far Google is one of the few things that has not been broken into. I mean, the Pentagon has been broken into, but Google has not yet. So I mean, I don't, I don't feel that insecure with the whole thing. I don't. But there's varying opinions on this. My opinion is that first of all,
Google doesn't really care about it, and
and I haven't got anything out there remotely, sensitive. Not really. I mean, technically grades are sensitive, but like I said, without the scale, how do you know how they're doing? And does that really matter at this point? So, yeah. So I think that's pretty much everything about Google Docs. Do you have any questions or anything? Or oh yeah, you want to look at the drawing again? So let me just create a new one. You get a blank canvas, essentially. You go up under New, you go up under File, and under any of these are your options. The drawing is fairly new. I don't know how new, but it's the last one they put up there. I don't know when that was. And then you have these are your tools up here. So you can import, you can copy and paste in images and draw on them, or you have a whole lot of shapes, like a whole lot of shapes. So you can go in and you can. It's not designed necessarily as a really robust freehand type of thing. It's more of a what do you call these things? Anyway, yeah, flow charts or just graphics, not necessarily. But you do have some. You can throw in an image. You can draw lines and tons of shapes. There's an equation thing, so you can create equations if you want. There is you can draw, like I said, you can draw lines. There's also that's the line color. I thought there was a way of drawing. Necessarily. There may not be a way of drawing it.
There I am. I just joined.
Wrong. Oh, here. Well, scribble. That's it. So you can actually just kind of.
Maria.
If you want. Usually with these, and I'll see if this is one of them. You can actually, you're able to edit a lot of these things. So I can stretch this scribble now too if I want to. And if you do a curve, then what that allows you to do is, anyway. So you can't. I don't know that you'd be awesome at drawing a picture, but if you wanted to make a some kind of graphic that would go with something, or you have capabilities. You can also put text in there. So hang on. I can if I wanted to put a text box in here and say, center. And you can do that. And create stuff. You can also put text in there. So any other questions on Google Docs? Did we get anybody online, Cody? Sweet. Do they have any questions? Do you have any questions online?
Maria, do you have questions?
Could you, maybe I missed that portion, could you show if a student is using UW email, how they could log into Google Docs if they don't want to create the Gmail?
Can you say that again, Maria?
Oh, okay. Could you show again how students with UW account could log in into Google?
Without an account? Yeah. What you do is you would just create a document. Okay. So if I wanted them to collaborate on, well, we'll just do this. I want them to collaborate on this. I would go in here and I would go to share.
Okay.
And I would, if I want to see who it is, I want their information attached to an account so that I can see what changes they make. Then I would actually add their email addresses right here, where it says add people. And then it will send them an email and say, hey, Maria has shared a document with you. Click here to go there. And then they will go there and it'll say set up an account. And it's going to be really easy. It'll say what you want to use your username, what do you want to use your password. That's it. That's all it's going to ask you. Like I said earlier, if you didn't miss it, I would suggest if you don't have one to set up your UWIO as an account, because what happens then is that if I want to add you, for example, to Google, I just put in if I want to add Cody, I just put in cconnor3@UWIO, then it's going to go to him. If he used that as his username. If he used something random, I don't know what that is, but I know his UW email address. So you might want to set it up as that. But that's what they'll do. It's really straightforward. If you don't care to attach their actual login to something, and you want to make this really easy, then you would actually go up and say, where it says who has access, change it and say anyone with a link, which essentially means it's private except for people who have the link. That's basically all it means. Right. So that's pretty straightforward too. The thing is that when it changes, when it makes people make changes, it just says anonymous. And I think I have something that let me see if I can show you one of these. I think we have a Yes, yes. Okay, these are all me. Okay, so what you'll see here is that this is one that I just made open because I didn't really care. I just wanted them to come in and tell me what they wanted to order. Okay, and what you're going to see here is that these down here have no names. So I don't know who they are. Well, I mean, I do clearly because they have put their name in, but I don't know who they are. So they came in and made a edit. I think this may have actually been a form, so this may not be the best example ever. I know there's I just looked at this today, actually. Oh, there it is, this one. So this one, if we look at the revision history, and I know this is not a form because it's chaos, you'll see that this person has a login. Okay, so when she edited it, she was logged into Google Docs, and so we can see what it is. This person has a login, so when she edited it, she was in Google Docs, so we can see who that is. But these people, we don't know who they are, right? They made changes, and we don't know who they are. So that's what happens if you don't send them an email and make them create a Google account. You can see that there have been revisions, and you can see what the revisions are, but you can't actually see who the people are. And when they're in with you, like this one, and it says one of the view, you look there, it'll say anonymous user, and you won't know who it is. So that's the pluses and minuses. Did that answer your questions, Maria?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Anything else? Any other questions? I think these are really powerful and really useful because they do a lot, and it's free, and if nothing else, it's a great thing to introduce to your students because they can learn this. They can learn to use this in their life as they go because it's one of the things they can take with them as they go because it doesn't cost anything. Anybody else? Okay. So we went a little bit longer on that, but it's okay because it was good questions, and I think everybody's learning a lot, I guess. What we wanted to talk a little bit about was Tricia and I were talking about the fact that we would like to discuss the idea of having some kind of group evaluation of what's going on in your classroom, meaning that Tricia and I might try to come up with a survey that you could give to your class that you could, if you wanted to, and see what you guys thought of that, so that we can kind of see how your students are feeling about the things that you're doing. Like, I know that Samara is doing a lot. I just walked by her office. She's like, oh, look at this. She's doing a ton. So the question then is, she's excited about it, it's going well, are her students excited about it, and is that going well? And I guess we're interested partly in, is that something you're interested as a group? Does that sound something like something, if you didn't have to do anything besides deploy it, basically, does that sound like an okay thing or no? Or would this be interesting information to you? What is our feel for this? Are we scared to find out what the students think? Samara's looking at me like, I don't know. I just made a 25-minute VOD video. 20.
So I'm wondering how much they really hated that.
Well, maybe that we could find out. Maybe they didn't hate it at all. Maybe they liked it. Does anybody have any feel for that? We don't have to, because Trish and I got other things to do. We don't feel like we need to do this. Just it was as a service for. How about you guys online, Robert and Maria? You guys, would you be interested in that at all? I know some people haven't started their thing yet. They're starting it in the spring, so I know some people that wouldn't be.
So you going to develop the form?
Yes, we would develop a survey basically that we could that you could give to your students, and then we would give you the results back, and we could kind of see.
Okay. At the end of the semester?
We were thinking about doing it now, but we could do it at the end if that would be better.
Yeah, I think by the end of the semester, more technology will be used.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll plan on doing it at the end of the semester. That would give us more time to work on it. And I'm not talking about an exhaustive one. I don't want to like bombard the students at all. I just want them, a few questions, kind of find out how they felt about it a little bit.
Separate from like your course content.
Yes. Yes.
That they feel they need to comment on. Just the technology. How effectively did the technology work, or did
about it too.
Did the instructors use of this whatever technology support your learning or support your connection to them, or
did it just get in the way?
Or was it confusing?
But could that be? I mean, I know. Okay, so for example, I did a midterm. I was showing Chrissy this today. I did a useful everywhere for a midterm evaluation about what do you like about the course, don't like about the course, and probably out of 23 students, I got 9 that responded. So we all know with course evals, and even for ourselves, if we don't get a huge response rate. So I'm wondering if you could somehow link this up to our course evaluations. I know you want it to be about the technology, but that way they're not getting too many surveys coming at them.
We might be able to do something.
Right, maybe.
If you could write the questions maybe, and then I think in faculty modify. And they add questions to. Can you add questions to your ANS survey?
I'm pretty sure in evaluation toolkit you have a custom questions that instructors can choose. And we can work with Laura to do.
Yeah, we'll think on that. That would
just
be
because then only answering it once, and you might get a better response.
That's a good idea. We'll all look into that and see what we can do.
Along those lines, Trish and I were talking today also, maybe over email. As an idea of, are you getting feedback from students? Are they saying anything? I actually heard, I was sitting in a thesis defense and saying, and apparently Samara's is going very well because they were saying that Samara was a rock star basically in this class, in this thesis defense. So clearly whatever she's doing is working well. Maybe they hadn't watched the 28-minute one yet. I don't know. But are we getting any feedback from any students? Has anybody heard anything? I got some feedback from my students a little bit.
I haven't gone crazy because my online class I'd like to do more in the spring. I want to try that Google Docs though. I'd like to do that for a paper they have to use. So I would like to try that.
Yeah.
I'll find out tomorrow if they think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Oops. When I'm so Trisha's idea. So Trisha's just a rock star, really. I'm just copying the live, just like how you said you did Saturday morning coffee sessions. Is that what you did? Good. Yeah, so I do Monday discussions. And I answer their questions that they have for the week before.
Since Trish already took Saturday.
Yeah, I decided to do Mondays.
It changes all the day can change.
No, I know. But anyways, so I think that they, just like Trisha had said during our training, is they really like that feedback, and what they're telling me, it makes it feel more personal. They know who I am.
And you feel that? Because I know, when I felt that was huge. When I thought they saw me as a person, and I was getting more personal interaction with them because of it. Do you feel that, yourself?
it scares me to death, that whole thing. I don't like it, truly. I mean, not that not connecting to students. I mean, but the whole, I mean, it's a little intimidating, that whole Camtasia thing, right? No? Am I the only one who feels that way?
It's intimidating how?
I don't know.
But right.
I like to talk.
Just self-conscious about recording.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to really, yeah.
But see, I mean, I think this is
common. Like, this is a common reaction to it. What I find interesting is that very often the people that react the strongest to it, the idea of recording themselves, are actually really dynamic classroom teachers. They're clearly not afraid of actually interacting with the students or just talking to the students or lecturing the students. That doesn't bother them. What bothers them is something about recording themselves, watching themselves, which is interesting. Not everybody has the problem. Some people are like, woo, look at me. But I don't think that's uncommon, and I think you get used to it. I think Meg Van Valenwood really didn't like it to start with. I kept telling her, you need to put your picture in there. She's like, no, I don't want to. And I'm like, well, they like it better. And she's like, I don't really care. I don't want to put my picture in there. And finally she did, and she's like, okay, it's better. I'm still not stoked. But she's getting used to it, though. She doesn't mind it as much as she did. So you do get used to it.
If I don't have one, I don't have a picture. It's true.
The first time I did it in my pajamas and looking,
I did that once too.
people emailed me back and were like, it's amazing that, because I said, well, I know you all take this class in your PGs at whatever time of day works for you. So it is 11:30 at night and I am in my PJs and here we go.
Yeah.
If you want this posted by tomorrow, then you're getting it. You're getting it this way. And that was huge. That was like a huge step for me because I would never show my face like that in class.
Okay, well, basically, does anybody have any last minute?
Ideas, things to talk about in the future, disasters.
So I do like pre-record stuff.
Oh, yes.
And then save it for spring. So that's what I'd like
Yeah,
to start
yeah,
now.
absolutely.
The online classes I have in spring.
Yes.
Because students love it when they can hear your voice,
Yes, they do.
regardless. So I've never had my picture in one before, so
They
that
like
would be
that too.
interesting. And I think I'll be compelled to work.
The only strange thing is
I have my picture.
you'll walk across campus and say, oh, Professor Boggs, I'm like, hello.
Do I know you? And they totally know you, and you're like, hi, awesome. And they tell you your name, you're like, oh, cool. So.
Oh, you don't know me.
I think so. I did, yeah. Oh, I know who you are.
I'm in your class. Oh, hi.
Put pictures of themselves up so you know what they look like.
I always have students put pictures of
I
themselves.
do if I can.
Because we get our composite pictures of all our students, so I
Oh,
can
you
look
do?
at their picture
Yeah.
and then look at stuff I'm doing online.
Yeah, and that's
But I think it'd be nice if I have to share that, if they would share some stuff with me.
and you know, that's one of our, as we look at new LMSs, that's one of the things we want, is the ability for students to have a trial that goes through their
Posts, and they can put videos in. They can throw in a podcast themselves that says, here's what I did this week. You know, I mean, that's kind of one of the things we're hoping to get. I don't know if we will or not, but so.
Oh, good thing before, which I didn't think about. I do observation with children. We tuition them with early childhood, and I wanted to do this small 5-minute project with a child book reading. And I didn't have the camera, but I had my computer and I had Camtasia.
Oh,
And so I'm like, hey, I don't even need a video camera. And then I could upload and I get to put it on YouTube, and there I was done with it.
So you read to the child and videotaped it using your computer.
It was me and the child. It was actually a print awareness
Oh.
thing. And I just used my computer and my Apple. I didn't have to use a video camera because I could use Camtasia.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it was like one of those things
that's
where.
that's a great thing to share, Smart, because I think that that's something that's really, really helpful. It's a great idea.
Talk to
For
Steve
people to
about
think
that because
about.
I found a VHS tape with Layla. Yes. So talk to Steve about that.
And yours a built-in camera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my Apple, right?
Of
So
course,
it's
that's
like,
a nice little camera you've got. Oh,
Yeah.
That's a nice one. Works.
These are nice ones. We bought these after a recommendation by the Learning Center. And the cool thing about it, they pick up the sound really well too, and we've been using them.
They're Logitech HD Pros.
Yeah. They're less than 100.
They're like 80 or something.
I mean, back, I mean, the imagery.
Yeah.
Looking at them back here, right?
It's great. Yeah, it's a great image. It works well and it records amazing. And the thing that we like so much about it is that if I was over here standing in front of the screen, it wouldn't completely wash me out. It wouldn't like turn me into a dark shadow in the front of the screen.
No, it was making up for the guy lighting.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Excellent. There's another class in here. So, if anybody has a room with projector and stuff that we can possibly use for these, just let me know.
I bet at this time of day, that annex has to be empty.
I tried the annex last week and it didn't work.
Thanks for joining us, Bob and Maria. Sorry about all the complications in getting you on.
What'd you say?
We'll send out a link, or send out that join link that you guys used to get this earlier, because it appears there's a problem with adding people that don't have Google Plus accounts or that aren't in your circle.
George just ruined. What else do you
Right,
call
yeah.
it?
Thank
I
you
think
so
it should
much.
be better second time.
Yeah, me too.
Bye.
Bye.